Hi everyone. I'm going to see if I'm able to do something with Go generics today. I've built a project a while ago where I'm using OpenID Connect together with HTTP middlewares. In this case, the default net, mux, and chai, as well as Gin, Fiber, and Echo. I've had to do quite a lot of things to validate claims, etc. And I think it may be much easier now when Golang supports generics. So I'm going to just sit down and see if we can use generics together with this middleware, and if it's possible or not. The project is split into different modules, which make sure that someone using the default HTTP middleware doesn't have dependencies on Fiber, as an example, or Echo. I'm going to start with seeing if we can do something with the default HTTP that's used by Mux and Chai as well. So I think we'll start there. First off, let's check out the new branch, and let's see where we can begin. I think we should be able, perhaps we should just start with making sure everything is working. Go tidy. Yeah, that seems alright. Make test. Let's just make sure that I'm still able to run everything. Alright, it looks like it. That's great. I'm going to just take a look at how it's actually being used. So if we start at the HTTP middleware, we have just a function called new that returns an HTTP handler, and we're using the to HTTP handler, and that just creates an HTTP handler. And in this case, we're extracting the context, we're grabbing a token string, usually a JWT, and then we're passing in the token string and the context to the parse token function, and then we take these claims and we stash them in the context. In this case, we will have a map string interface, and that doesn't help us that much. I would like to be able to do something like having a test, or having like a specific struct or a type that can be used everywhere. So someone who's using the middleware can tell the middleware this is the type that the claims are going to be in, and we should be able to handle that. And I think if we're able to handle that, we would also be able to make a lot of the logic in different places simpler. So let's see here. If we go to the OIDC and just check out the new handler, we're using the functional options pattern here to add or configure the middleware in different ways. Perhaps it could be nice of me to show you how it's used. So if we look at this, we create a claims handler this claims handler will extract these claims and typecast it to a map string interface. And when we've done that, we can look at them. But if we want to do something more specific with these claims, we have to cast each claim to this type and check it every time. So my hope is that we won't have to typecast that way or that much. Most likely we'll still have to typecast something here, but at least that will be to our type and not an interface. And when we're using the middleware, let's see here, in this case we're just adding the handler, and we're adding the handler to this one, and the runtime. In this case it looks like I'm not actually right. Validate. Let's take a look at the README as well. So this is how the options are used. So we can say that you should use this specific issuer, you should use this token type, this required audience, this fallback signature algorithm, and these required claims. I think I've had to build a lot of logic around required claims, and I've been using something called go-oidc, and I have to dig deep into these non-generic types and try to figure out if they are the same. And if we're using generics the correct way, then we should be able to ask the user of the middleware to just give us a validation function. So we pass in the new type we've created, and they can validate it themselves. So we don't have to build a lot of logic, and we should most likely be able to remove things like go-oidc from this middleware and don't have to think about things like that. But all right, let's see what we can do. I'm just going to get started and see what happens. So if I go into the new handler, let's say we do a t-any, and that will return a handler. And we would most likely have to tell the handler that it's generic as well, so we can use that later. So we're going to say handler t-any, and that means we need to pass it t, and that also means that we have to return t there. Now when we have a generic handler, it stops working in most places, so let's just fix all those places. Just 3 of them. Alright. This one works now. I'm not going to look at all the errors from all the other places at the moment. I'm just going to try and get some of the basic tests working. Alright, so we'll create a handler. Perhaps we'll just say I'm going to use I have a test library. Let's see, optest.test user. Yeah, let's use that one to begin with. And, if we go to the type definition of it, we most likely need to add some. We should most likely make sure that we are able to unmarshal this one. So let's do that as well. Oh, sorry. And we'll just need to tell the JSON and marshaller like what's the name of this in JSON or YAML or something like that. Access token key type ID token key type extra ID token claims extra access token claims. Let's start with this just to have something to use. And we'll just edit there as well and there as well. Right. Let's take a look at, I'm not going to touch anything of the echo gin and stuff like that, but I do want to get the HTTP one working. And that means we need to do something here. So, well, yeah, we need to make this one generic as well. And that means we need to make this new handler, the setters. Oh yeah, sorry. Then we have that one working, and that means we need to fix this as well. Let's just use the test user here as well, just to get it working in these tests. Alright, we seem to have an issue here as well. We'll just add a new generic type and I'm not sure what this warning, to be honest. Oh, sorry, that's me. That's my mistake. Test user. Yeah, that's it. Let's see. Right. Now we should be able to perhaps run the test. So let's just run the test and see what happens. It still works, so that's awesome. Thank you. Right. So we're now able to run this test in some kind of way. Let's see, what would we be able to do with this? So now we have the parse token, we have the is valid, that should be fine. We don't want to change anything when it comes to the key extraction logic and signatures. That shouldn't matter at all. It validates is token expiration valid. And in that case, we still haven't we still just have a token that's a JWT token. We're validating the issuer based on the token, and we're checking for required claims here, and we're creating a map of it. And we validate that is required claims valid. I think this could be a great place to just stop. We should be able to validate it using a custom function. We shouldn't have to use this extreme logic with Go City, because it's hard to keep working. So let's see if we can change that to something like, let's say we have, I think we have something like, right, let's try something like claims validator. That's a function. It takes context, and it takes claims as t. It returns an error if it's not able to validate. Let's begin there. And if we do that, then we should be able to, let's see here, if required claims. So now if we just, let's remove required claims completely, just to see what happens. So let's start up here, required claims, we remove that. And by removing required claims, we didn't break that much, but then I should be able to just remove Go City completely. And that should break something at least. Yeah, required claims should be removed. We should change this to the token validator. And we can remove is required claims valid. That means this doesn't work anymore. And this means that we can check if handlers claims validator isn't nil, then we just do, what do we do with it? We do something like r equals h.claims validator, we pass the context and we pass the claims which we haven't extracted yet. So we need to extract them before we do this. So let's try to do that. I'll just start with doing something like that. Fake claims, and if they're not equals nil, then we return nil, and if unable to validate claims, pass the error. Right. So now we're if we're not able to validate the claims, we're sending it back. Now let's see, how do we extract the claims in the format we want? Token dot get clone. Right, perhaps we should check out how it's as a map. So that should most likely be something we want to do. Yeah. So we want to do claims and enable it to get token claims. Right. Now we have, this is nasty. I'm going to build a helper function for this. So we should take token and a context. Right, let's do that. Function get. We need to use. Let's see here. I'm placing it on the handler because we need t, and we're going to say get claims from token. We're taking a context. We're taking a TWT. We're taking a token. We're returning we're returning a t and an error. Right, and we'll take this. We'll just say these are our claims. now we need to do something like new t. This is a weird one. A new creates a pointer to the type. So we dereference the pointer. It's at least what I've learned of how to use generics in Go. When we have the claims, we need as map, not token, as map, issue, iterate. I'm not sure we can do it any other way. So yeah, perhaps we need to do something like claims. We need, this is, I'm going to hack this to begin with. But it would be nice if a JWT token could take a generic type and give it back to me. But since I'm not sure it's possible, I should I want to convert it to JSON, so I want to marshal it, and then I want to unmarshal it to my type. So JSON.marshal, and we're taking the claims, and we're returning claims bytes error. And if error nil, turn t unable to marshal claims. Now we have the claims bytes. We should be able to say typed claims, or typed claims t. We should be able to say something like JSON.unmarshal, and we take the claims bytes and we push it to typed claims. If the error isn't nil, then return, and we write something nice. Able to unmarshal claims, and if everything works, we return typed claims as well as no error. That may be what we want to do, and that also means that we now can do claims error h.get claims from token context token. Now we should return f unable to extract claims from token. Now we have the claims, and we can use these claims in the validator. That's nice. Or we've been able to remove lots of stuff. I like that. And that means that we do the claims validator only if it's set. So we need to be able to set it. We're setting it using the options. And let's see here, required claims should be removed. That means this should be removed as well. And now we need to be able to add the claims validator. to express that better later as well. It will take context and it will take t claims t. Then we need to make this generic t and it returns an error. Alright, this now means that we can take claims validator, but we're not generic, so we need to become generic. That will most likely make everything else fail here. So we need to do t-any, and we need to do t return options t, and we need to make this generic as well, this, and that means that we need to make all of these generic. So let's see here. Let's figure out what we need to do. We need to make this one t-any. We need to return option t. We need to take a t there. Alright, so let's see if we can make this in some kind of way without having to rewrite the same thing 100 times. I'm not sure how we should do that, but let's try. Alright. That doesn't seem correct. Let's not make a big deal out of it. I'm just going to do something like multi-cursor select. Right, and everything that's returning an option should be able to say option t. And everything that looks like this should be able to look like this. And we most likely have some kind of issue up here. Yeah, because we need to take a generic option. Alright, that's kind of nice. Let's see if we can get the tests working. Oh, test user, and we can't take the required claims anymore. And option T should be test user with issuer test user. I really hope I don't have to add this to each and every one of them. Oh, I do. That's nasty. I'm not that used to actually working with generics, so I may be missing something obvious here. Alright, and we have the same there. I really don't like the look of this. That's too verbose for my liking, but let's not think about it too much. Run the test is working great. we go back to OIDC. Now we need to take T there as well. Right. OIDC test. We have lots of O tags. In these tests, I'm going to say test user, and let's see how many times we need to do this. Test user. I was really hoping that they would actually like inherit a generic type, but perhaps the functional options isn't like the best way to do it using generics, because this isn't looking nice at all. Let's give it a few minutes, or perhaps, yeah, it's going to take a few minutes. Let's just push through. I've read lots of people saying that you should only use generics with in Go when you really need it. Perhaps this isn't the best use case, but I do think like users of middleware like this would like to be able to actually require claims. We need to, let's not fix that one. I'm going to add the token validator there. That's a good test. Right, it seems like we have a big test here for, yeah, this can be removed now since we don't need it anymore, because that's awesome. Lots of like built-in logic removed, making the code a lot simpler. Let's see here. Instead of sending in required claims, we should now send in, we need to make sure that we can do that. We should now send in a claims validator. So let's make sure we can pass it a claims validator. With claims validator, and claims validator sets the claims validator parameter. You can pass a function to run. You can pass a function to run custom validation of the token of the claims defaults to nil. That means we have options with claims validator, test user. We need to create this one, so let's create it like this. And I'm not exactly sure what we're testing for. Num keys, expected error contains correct required. Right, foo equals bar. Custom claims, alright. So, right, let's just see what happens. the required claims. Let's just write something to begin with. We have the claims, and we have extra access token claims, and we want to validate if foo something, if, right, let's see here, it's a map, right, foo, okay, foo, if not okay, return error, if able to locate foo. And then we should cast it foo, foo, okay, foo raw to string, if not okay. No custom claim name foo, custom claim name foo, not a string, and if foo not equals bar, then we should return custom claim name foo is not bar. Right, let's remove that. Return nil. I need to rewrite this test to not be based on like an interface, because it doesn't show how, like what we can actually do with generics. But let's start it this way. Oh, it got gray now. That's weird. Oh, because we're not using T. Weird. Alright. Still learning generics. Let's see if we can run this test now. Alright, unable to error. Unable to extract claims from token, unable to unmarshal claims JSON. Non-pointer of test. Perhaps I'm not using. Alright, I'll need to figure that one out later. But it seems like we're able to at least get somewhere doing this. Now with HTTP, we need to give it T here, and let's see, we need to take T there, T, and then we need to fix these tests. These tests should most likely be something like op test.test user. I'm not sure if these would work then. And why is that one complaining? It's run tests. Right, and go-oidc tester is most likely. Alright, so this now needs to be generic. Pass the T. Pass the T. Pass the T. Now all these will need to be generic as well, or do they? Perhaps we could just say, let's not make any tests generic. Let's just give them test user. Yeah, that's most likely the simplest way to begin with. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Then we don't have to try to figure everything out right now. But I actually don't like how verbose the generic syntax is. It feels like I'm doing something wrong. We need to fix required claims there and there. Alright, and we did do the required claims function somewhere. Claims validator. Let's copy this one to begin with. Sub with required claims. Sub, that should be much simpler. So let's see, sub should be test. Now we should be able to do something like claim if claims dot subject not equals test turn subject required to be test terminal. And we do, so now we can see that it's actually a lot simpler when we're working with something like a subject to be poo. We don't have to typecast anything. That's nice. Alright, let's go back to HTTP tests. Are they still running? Whoa, cannot infer T from benchmarks. That's my bad. Sorry. It would be really interesting to see how much faster the code is. I have a lot of benchmarks for all the different providers with the required claims, and required claims is like the logic is quite hardcore. It would be cool to see if it gets a lot better when using it, using the new way. Right, we need to fix the required claims there. Tests, and we're going to just do something like this. Benchmarks. Take the other one. subject needs to be alright. That's great. Let's see if we can run the test now. So we're failing in somewhere. Expected 200, got 401. Oh, no, thank you. Why did you say something like that? Error trace. No, let's OIDC test. Alright. Something is now failing the test suite for the handler. So requirements expected 200, got 401. Well, I think this should be enough for today. So I'm going to end the recording here, and we've been trying to see if we can make it generic. I'm not sure if I like it or not, but it's fun to test it at least. So have a great day or night.